Let's check out today's conversation. Mike sits down with agency owner Clint McLain. We get to experience all the pitfalls and triumphs of Clint's journey, from Clint's time as a teenage movie theater employee.
I'm a classic middle child. I really like attention. I seek acceptance from others. I want to be the life of the party.
To the moment he realized he was in too deep.
You know, the income just kept going down and down. And I mean, I was getting calls from debt collectors.
To the perspective shift that focused all of his effort on the right target.
I made a decision that turned my career on an about face. All of a sudden, I started running towards this opportunity.
All of this coming up next on the Level Up Lifestyle.
For everybody that's listening, of course, I'm your host, Mike Sheets. We're coming to you live from McKinney, Texas. We are not in our studios. We're downstairs in what we call the venue, and we've got 100 people in here. And our first level of leadership, these are our supervising agents.
Yeah.
Bring them in here and plug in for 3 days. We talk all about how to grow as a leader, how to build your business, how to serve your community better and provide this opportunity. So we're so excited that everybody's here.
Absolutely.
And getting part of this. And we thought, what better way to kick off our third and final day than just to fly Clint McLain in here and let's do a podcast.
Yeah. Right? Congratulations, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is great.
We're so excited to have everybody here. All right. Well, Clint, let's get into this. So you have been with the company for over 20 years?
22 years.
22 years.
Started April 1st, 2002.
April Fool's Day joke that never ended.
It just never ended. The joke keeps going.
The joke keeps on going, right? Pretty good joke.
I would say.
Working out well for you.
Yeah.
And you're an agency owner.
I'm an agency owner.
You have 4 offices.
That's right. Brentwood, Nashville Market, Tennessee. We have Huntsville, Alabama, Birmingham, and Mobile, Alabama. So we kind of have the I-65 corridor there.
Gotcha. So, and something that's, I think, really interesting about you that sets you apart from a lot of people is you are third generation Liberty National.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and as you know, kind of the level up lifestyle, what we like to do is, you know, kind of profile people here. You've been in a successful position for many years. You're a successful agency owner. You're on the Council of Champions, which is, you know, kind of the top of the top, doing well in all areas of an agency owner. But even, of course, and even as a third generation, though, it wasn't always that way, right? There was,
that's right.
There was challenge. There was adversity. There was some twists and turns that you had to navigate. So I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. My onboarding here is obviously different than most. I mean, I do have someone that's in the audience today that's similar with J.D. Mitchell. You know, he's third generation, and so we have that kindred, reality about us.
Right.
But, you know, my things have changed over the years naturally. My grandfather on my mom's side, he was the first in the family to join up with Liberty National, and
so let's start with his story then. Tell me about your grandfather.
Yeah, so, knowing him, he was the one grandfather I had a relationship with. I didn't have one on my dad's side. And so he would share stories. He would took us cousins, brothers, and sisters. We would go hunting and fishing and skiing and all that fun stuff. And I know he was born in 1929, so like right there at the onset of the Great Depression. Yeah. And he was born in a community called Flea Hop, Alabama.
Flea Hop, Alabama.
Yeah, only in Alabama.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know if this is true or not, but he told us that, one day goats got under the schoolhouse, and when the teacher and the students came to school that day, there were fleas hopping all over the desk. Yeah, not sure if that's true, but
so the town hadn't been named before that, or they changed the name.
That's right, and it's not even really a town; it's just more of a community outside of a town, if that makes sense. And so, very, very small community. It's he grew up in a agricultural setting, right?
Gotcha.
And
what part of the state is this?
Right there in central Alabama, probably maybe 45 minutes north of Montgomery.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
gotcha.
And he would share stories about, his growing up, that, they would go to school during the day and work in the fields in the evening. And, I've seen his home place,
He's coming out of the Depression, right? Obviously, right this time.
Right.
Yeah.
And, he always talked about there was this breezeway between, like the kitchen and the main living area. And he and his siblings would lay on their backs in this breezeway to cool off from the day and to stretch their backs out.
Wow.
And so,
So they go to school.
They would go to school and then come home and work in the fields. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what age?
I just through school. I know he, finished high school, didn't go to college. I know during the summers he would work like at the local sawmill for 50 cents a day, that kind of thing.
He's like 9, 10 years old, all through 18.
That's
basically.
right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, because I don't think they really had child labor laws in that time.
Or no one knew, right?
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And so he went to work. He was delivering bread for Flowers Bread Company. He had a bread route.
After school.
That's right.
After he graduates high school.
That's right.
Okay.
In Montgomery. And he joined the company in 1955.
Wow.
So my family has a 69-year history with this company.
Do you know if that was the decision to join Liberty in 1955? Was that out of necessity? Was it just like a need to do more? Was he just looking for a change? You know what led him to here?
I really believe in that time. I mean, times have changed, for sure on how we do things. But I really believe in those times, that was a really high earning, and it is today as well. But it was a really high earning opportunity. So he was chasing an opportunity. He was wanting to better his life for his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he got started in 1955.
That's right.
And what was that career path like for him?
Yeah, he held all of the positions. I mean, the titles have changed, but I mean, a lot of the same stuff remains, right? I mean, he
started as an agent.
He was an agent. He became a sales manager, which is very similar to what supervising agents do. And he was a district manager. So he ran an office there in Central Alabama. And when he was
back in this time, at Liberty National, it's very regional.
That's right.
In a way, right? Kind of in the Southeast.
That's right.
So, there's 30, 40 offices, districts in Alabama.
Yes.
Essentially, right? And that's kind of the goal. When you come in as an agent and you've got a book of business, you got people that you're going out and seeing, taking care of customers.
That's right.
But the goal is to have the district, right? And
that's right. Well, and the goal was growing your customer base.
Right.
Now, at that time, they didn't really do, payroll deduction or work side, and they didn't do bank draft. They would go to homes and collect the premiums.
Wow.
Some people were weekly collect, some people were monthly collect, and so agents had routes that they would run.
You really get to know your customers that way.
That's right. And when he retired as an agent, and his sales manager when he retired was the district manager that hired me. I'll talk about him a little bit, but his name is Larry Ray, and Larry shared with me that I called him Pawpaw. So Pawpaw had a goal every day. He had clothespins that he would put on his visor.
Oh, wow.
And there were 10 clothespins. So when you collected premiums, I mean, I knew this because of my dad. You would see 30 or 40 people a day. It wasn't just seeing 4 or 5 homes. It was 30 or 40 people a day.
That's busy all day
long. And but my grandfather had a goal. He had 10 clothespins, and he would not end his day until all 10, he took them from the visor and the cup. And what he did, every time he talked to a family about increasing their coverage or talked to a referral about, joining up with Liberty National, buying the policy, that's when he would pull that clothespin down. So every day he was having 10 conversations about, increasing coverage. And that's something that was shared with me that, activity was important then, just as it is now. And it makes me think about, the quote from Bear Bryant that the same things win that always won. Yeah. We just have a bunch of excuses when we lose, right? I mean, it's always been that way.
The business hasn't really changed. The way we do it has changed a little bit, but the actual fundamentals are the same.
You got to see the people.
Yeah. That was the early version of Epic.
That's right.
Clothespins,
yeah.
Right? Like
clothespins. Yeah. Not even on paper. It's just a clothespin. Resourceful.
So how many years total was he with the company before he retired?
So he did 34 years, retired in 1989. And I think one thing that was I guess I just observed this, growing up and, going hunting with him. He had a farm that we could hunt, and he obviously, he raised crops and things like that. But I knew his roots. Like I saw the home place, I knew the roots. And he retired living on Lake Martin, which is a pretty prestigious lake in Alabama. It's a good life to live in retirement. And so I just kind of knew that, all my life. And thought that was pretty cool thing about him.
So you've seen this whole, came from flea hop, laying on the floor in the summers because you have to go work in the field to provide for the family.
That's right.
And then retiring, you see the lifestyle.
That's right.
On the lake and all that. So
when he got ready to go buy a bass boat, he went and bought a bass boat.
Didn't think about it. Just
that's right.
Time to do it.
That's right.
Okay. So then how does that move to the next generation now that where does it's your dad?
Sure. So, that was my mom's side. My dad, he had a rough childhood. He was the oldest of 4 siblings and primarily raised by a single mom. I think his dad was in and out, of his life. And like I said, I didn't have a relationship with him. So that was a very estranged relationship with them. And I think they lived with his grandparents a good bit. And, his family, they were migrant farmers. And so they would go out to like California and, when it was time for harvest and things like that. And that was how they made their money. And
so when he's being raised, it's, hey, we're going to go to
that's right.
wherever and work in the fields, work on the farm.
That's right. He was born living in government housing in Chattanooga, and they lived in Chicago for a while, but they would go out to California every year. And he shared with me, many times about it was a treat at Christmas just to get 3 oranges in your stocking. That was like a big Christmas for him. And so it didn't really have a lot of money. I mean, obviously love in the home, with my grandmother and my great grandparents there, but and my aunts and uncles, but not a lot of money.
Yeah.
And when he graduated high school, in that time the military had a draft, and every man had to go through that, and he drew a lottery, and his lottery number was 3, and so he knew he was going to get drafted.
This is Vietnam.
This is Vietnam is raging at this time. And so he went and joined the Air Force. He was in media, growing up through high school. I think some of the times when my grandfather wasn't around, my grandfather was a radio personality there in Coleman, Alabama.
Okay.
And so he had some experience with that, and he went in the media in the Air Force.
So he joined the Air Force instead of
getting drafted,
going as the draftee. He said,
"That's right.
Just sign up.
Let's just go ahead and do this.
Let's go."
That's
so
right.
he joins the Air Force, and then this is an interesting part of the story, right?
Yeah.
Talk about his experience.
Yeah. So before shipping off for Vietnam, he met my mom. Vietnam, he met my mom, and they got married. They dated for a few months, met through a blind date. They got married knowing he was going to Vietnam. Well, he was in Da Nang, Vietnam, which was close to the demilitarized zone, and he was in the same radio station. If you read the book or seen the movie Good Morning Vietnam, he was
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams, he was in that same radio station of what that story is based on right after. So it's kind of like changing hands. He was going out, and my dad was coming.
He's the sequel that was never made.
That's right. He never made it to Hollywood. That's right.
Wow. So and how long did he do that?
I think that tour of duty was a year.
Yeah.
And then came home and started a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so obviously he meets your mom when your mom's dad is working for Liberty.
That's right. 20-something years at that point. Mm-hmm.
And then how does what's your dad do when he comes back, and how does he get involved in the company?
Sure. Well, he stayed in broadcast when he got back. He was a sportscaster for local TV stations, Huntsville, Selma. And he's I've seen videos. I've seen him interview Bear Bryant. It's kind of a neat thing, or Kenny Stabler, and just hear him talking about those stories, and it's really cool. Not a lot of money, right? I mean, I think they struggled to make ends meet. Mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I wasn't born at that time. My older brother was, and and so not a lot of money. And my grandfather, I believe he was a sales manager at this point in the Wetumpka district. And he had an opening on his team, and so he recruited Dad to move down from Huntsville, and that happened in 1976.
And then your dad's career, took off, right? And he did well.
Right. Yeah, he was just like Pawpaw, he was an agent, sales manager there in Wetumpka. His first district was Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So a lot of the customers that Vicki Ketron has in her book, that he was the district manager there for a long 5 years. So we lived in Knoxville, Tennessee for 5 years. Came back to Montgomery as district manager, did really well. Went into the home office, kind of went that route. And when he left the company, he was senior vice president in charge of worksite.
Wow.
At that point in time.
So built a great career.
30 years.
From a challenging upbringing.
That's right.
Right. Traveling around as a migrant farmer. Your grandfather built a great career.
That's right.
From humble beginnings, laying on a wood floor to cool off in the summer, essentially.
Right.
Having to work to provide for the family at a young age. And then how does that contrast with what your childhood was like? Because I think it's a great point of what this opportunity can do.
I love a good overcoming story, right? I love podcasts and reading books and, watching movies and people overcoming just really seemingly insurmountable obstacles, right, in their childhood. And I didn't have that, thankfully. And, I thank God that, he changed the direction of our family from two angles, right? And, and so my childhood was great, very loving home. I think it was important to Dad to provide that stable environment because he didn't really have that growing up.
Yeah.
So I think that was important to him. And if you ever met my mom, she's probably one of the most sweetest people on the planet, so we had a really loving, stable home. We lived in nice homes. We were the house that my friends wanted to come to and hang out in. And, I'm not going to sit here and say we had everything we wanted, but we certainly had everything we needed, right? I remember asking for a Nintendo for 3 Christmases before I got one.
Right.
So, it was a great childhood. Yeah.
So it's just interesting when you think about it. Like, there's probably some people that are listening to this or watching it that can relate to your dad.
Right.
Right. Hey, I've lived kind of through some struggle.
Sure.
Maybe the upbringing wasn't ideal.
Sure.
And to think about what this has done for you
right,
as a child now, in a way, always talk about like break the cycle, right? I'm not saying it was a cycle for your dad, but it was
generational change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what this has done, have you ever thought about, if your dad hadn't gotten connected into Liberty coming back from Vietnam, what does your life look like and how has that been able to impact you and your kids and
that's right,
eventually your kids' kids?
Yeah, it's generational changing and I almost shudder to think about that. Like I said, I enjoy reading books. The GED to CEO of Roger Smith.
Yeah.
Steve DiCharo's podcast. His story. I love that because it is inspiring. Like, okay, I need to kind of like push forward. It's not so bad. Let's push forward.
Yeah.
But for me, I shudder to think about what my life would be like had they not had some drive and pursue that greater opportunity for their family.
Yeah. So let's talk about you then. Now. Okay. Here you are in the picture, Clint. You've got the house that the friends are coming over with.
Right.
Did they make you wait for the Nintendo? Was it more of like a lesson?
Yeah. There was. I think they just. Yeah. I think it was just. My parents. So my parents, like I said, they provided a great life, but they also taught me the value of $1. And they taught my brother and my younger sister that as well. And I remember going to Dad for my 9th grade homecoming dance. I had a date.
Freshman year.
Yeah, freshman year.
It's a big moment in life,
big deal.
Right?
And actually, he came to me about three weeks in advance of that. Said, "Well, son, what are your plans for the date?" I said, "Well, I'd like to take." There was a restaurant in Montgomery called Daryl's. It's no longer there, but I'd like to take her to Daryl's. It had really cool theming inside, all that kind of stuff.
Daryl's just seems like wow.
Great Alabama
Daryl's.
Yeah. So, I'd like to do that. And he said, "Well, listen, I can drive you there. I can drive you to the dance, but you're going to pick up the tab for dinner. So I suggest you find you some lawns to mow in the neighborhood." And
what'd you think when you heard that?
I did what he said to do. I went and found some lawns, and I think I cut 5 or 6 yards to get enough money to do that. And
you didn't feel like, well, why, just you're doing well.
Yeah,
you're gonna make me.
I don't know that I had that sense of entitlement yet. It did come, but I don't know that I had that sense of entitlement yet. It was okay. Well, let me go do that because I was mowing our lawn. Of course, I was doing that for free, no allowances. And so I thought it was kind of cool.
That paid for the Nintendo.
That was kind of cool. Let me go get some money for doing it. And so I remember, like my brother. So when I was 15, my brother's 5 years older.
Okay.
And so I knew he had to buy his first car. So I was going to have to buy my first car.
You've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm following in his steps. So it's kind of like already a condition, right? Yeah. And so I got a job that summer, when I was 15 years old, making $4.75 an hour. I was working at a convenience store close to Lake Martin. So I went and lived with my grandparents that summer. Okay. Did everything from frying chicken to filling propane tanks to wrangling goats. The owner of the store had a goat that got loose. I had to wrangle him back in.
Fleas on the goat.
Kind of full circle with the goats there, in central Alabama. And but I raised enough money that summer to buy my first car. And man, I was so proud of that.
What card you get?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. This is a really cool car. Okay. It was a 1988 black Buick Century with red velvet interior. Ooh. If you can just imagine the chick magnet, that car was. I mean, not really.
But those are they don't have chairs like that anymore in cars where you just sink into it.
Yeah, that's right.
The summer
you're just tall so I can get over the dash because you're sinking so much.
Yeah, and just sweating all summer with that.
No, it was great.
Right? Yeah,
it was great.
Right. So you ninth grade. You mow some lawns to afford the dinner at Daryl's.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
And then 10th grade, I'm assuming, or 11th when you work.
I was young when I graduated high school. I was 17, so this was like 11th grade.
Going in your senior year?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you got your car.
Yeah.
Set up. And then where is it like just a foregone conclusion that you're going to be third generation Liberty National, taking over the business?
Right.
All I've ever wanted to do is sell life insurance. It's so amazing.
Sure.
Is that the path, or how'd that go?
No. Of course, I witnessed my dad, suiting up and leaving every day. And, Dad was a well-respected, member of our church and in the community. And, I think that kind of being a product of that environment, I had that same drive. I wanted the same things, but I didn't necessarily look at that. I want to grow up and be in the insurance business. And I know that's probably where I'm similar to most people is you don't grow up saying, one day I'd like to be in the insurance business, right? And so, I left the convenience store naturally when I moved back home for school, and I started, I did things like bagging groceries at a grocery store for tips. I learned there that people don't tip real well. And so I think that's kind of left an impression on me to always make sure I leave a good tip when I get service. And I started from there my senior year working at the movie theater.
Okay.
In Montgomery. In fact, that's where I met my wife.
Okay.
It was love at first sight for me, not so much for her. So it took me some time to convince her. But, I really, I have a lot of friends today that, were forged in that time. And, really liked the job, what it taught me. But something that is really, I guess, caused me to leave that is I learned it's really easy to be taken for granted. I was 17 years old when I graduated high school. I got promoted to assistant manager, which is kind of young. Yeah. Honestly. But so that was a salary position. And when you're the assistant manager, there's a lot of tasks that have to get done, like opening the theater, closing the theater, threading the movies. This is before you put DVD in the projector. I mean, all that stuff.
You got to time the switch, right?
All that stuff.
All that.
All that. And the head manager's not going to do it. And I was 17, so
I have to do it. Why do I have you?
I'm managing my peers, and so delegating to them was kind of an issue, and so it left to me. And so I would work 60, 70, 80 hours a week on salary, trying to go to college.
So did you go to college at this time? Are you thinking about it?
No, I was in college, and I didn't really have like a path that I wanted to study. So I took general business courses to start. Yeah. My resume would say some college. That's probably one of the regrets I would have is that I didn't finish. And I think things kind of got hard, so I dropped out of college and I moved out on my own when I was 19.
It's just a rebellious type of a phase, or was
this was that more that entitlement,
long hair Clint, right?
I did have a little bit of a mullet back then.
Well, you got the '88,
got the '88 Buick, man. I had upgraded at that point. I was in a '92 Nissan Sentra, two-door.
There you go.
Yeah, but no, this was a time where I really wanted to be my own person, freedom. I'm a classic middle child where I really like attention and I seek acceptance from others. I want to be the life of the party.
All things I would have never guessed knowing
Class
all these
clown.
years.
Well, I've changed and grown over the years, right? And so, but that was me in those years. And so I moved out on my own at 19 and learned a lot of valuable lessons.
So you were living at home, going to college, and working in the movie theater.
That's right.
That's kind of where it was. Did you feel like you're getting put in a box?
Yeah.
Of like, this is how you have to live, and that's what spurred this period?
Right. Yeah, because I was still under their roof, right? So there was rules, and I'm like, hey, I'm 19, and I'm going to college, I'm working, kind of felt entitled to more,
So where'd you go from there?
So there was. I remember one morning. It was about 1:00 in the morning. I'd closed the theater down. Counted the money, made the deposits. The manager called me and said, "Hey, I'm planning on going to the beach tomorrow. I need you to come in and open at get things started at 9." And I quit right there on the spot. I was like, "All right, enough's enough." And so from there, I went to work at a bank. Yeah, I was a bank teller, and I really liked that. It didn't pay much, but I really liked that.
What'd you like about it?
I like dealing with people.
Okay.
And that's where I really started learning about customer service and some business elements and. But I'm living on my own now, and it was a struggle, financially. But I was getting through month to month. The way the bank worked is they paid you once a month.
Yeah.
And then, so you paid your bills, and then you had X amount of dollars to live until the next paycheck 1 month later. And so,
you got paid, you paid once a month?
Once a month at this bank. Yep.
Never even heard of that. Okay.
So I had to learn how to really budget, right?
Yeah. You're like, by like the 17th of the month, you're like, that was a bad, shouldn't have gone to the Daryl's, I need to save some money.
There was a lot of meals where it was a Slim Jim and a Coke, or a pack of crackers, and I would coordinate, meals with my parents. I mean, as you can tell, I never went without, right? But I did that for a year.
So like the strategic, hey, can I come back and just do some laundry? What are you guys having for dinner?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, hamburger casserole. Okay, I love some.
Right.
Thank you. But did that for a year. And at the end of that year, my branch manager of the bank sat me down and he said, "Man, your customers love you." In fact, I had some customers. I wasn't dating Kelly at this point. I was still trying to convince her. And your customers love you. You've been on some, I had some customers take me on blind dates, with their granddaughter. I mean, it was just because you had some regulars, right? And so you got to know these people, and you show up on time. You work hard. You take on extra shifts like on Saturdays, and I really want to kind of groom you in this business. I'm thinking, okay, all right, business. This is a great opportunity, and so I want to offer you a raise, and it was a 3% raise.
On what?
And I did the math, and it basically meant I was going to get $30 more a month. So $1 more a day.
Yeah.
That's like a Dr. Pepper, right? And
thanks.
I was like, I knew then that I needed to get, somewhere where I can, kind of like pursue something.
Yeah.
And so that's the position before Liberty National. That's when that came open. That was that Gateway Computers. And so.
So you're still like, I don't want to, I don't want to do insurance. Are you like, I don't want to go down the family route. I want to do my own thing. It's
either I don't know that I wanted it. I didn't really think about it. At this point, Dad is in the home office, and so he's traveling around to districts and, leading work site and doing that kind of stuff. And so it just really wasn't, I didn't even know that it was an option for me.
Okay.
Honestly. I was 19 going on 20. Right.
Well, and even back in this time too, it was the company structure was you needed to fit in a position.
That's correct.
So
completely
you could only get hired if that route opened.
That's right.
It's not, hey, let's go build something.
That's right.
You we don't have any openings right now.
That's right. Yeah. That's exactly right. And so there was a big push in this time where computers were becoming more of a necessity in homes, for work and school, and they were becoming more affordable. And so, people were starting to buy computers. You had companies like Dell and Gateway and Apple, which they weren't as big as they are now, but Apple and Compaq, HP, they were trying to get market share, right?
Yeah.
And so Gateway had this model where they opened stores throughout the country.
The cow
box,
Cow box.
And it was called the Gateway Country Store.
Yeah.
And so I started there, and my position there, I helped families. I was a consultant where I was helping them build their first home computer. And that's where I really got that taste. Okay, I love helping people. Plus, there was some performance-based, compensation elements.
Let's upgrade to the 56K modem.
Exactly.
Get 128 megs of RAM.
Yeah,
that's going to be the.
Listen to this dial-up. Yeah, sounds like a fax machine.
Isn't it crazy though when you think about like how much just technology has changed, and really what we're talking about is a short period of time,
and accessibility of it too. Yeah.
You would get in your car, you would drive to the computer store of the brand of the Gateway store.
That's right.
And you walk in, and here's Clint McLain. How can I help you today?
That's right.
Let's look where you're looking through a catalog and like what do you want? What do you
So we would ask them, so this was kind of like that needs analysis approach, right? We'd ask them questions. Okay, what are you looking to do? And then, we had stations set up where we could show different hardware and peripheral elements and, software that they would need. And, and then we could sell them training packages and things like that. And a lot of them would hire us, just pay us under the table to come set it up because you would custom build it and place the order, but then we would ship it directly to their home. Well, then they needed somebody to help set it up. And so a lot of us would go out and help set it up.
There's a lot of people, this is their first computer ever probably.
Yes, this is really the start of the information age.
Yeah.
And so it was a really great time. I mean, my income tripled.
Yeah.
My lifestyle improved. Yeah.
So you're running a little bit of commission here, selling computers.
Right.
Things are going well.
Yep.
You probably noticed that in this space, in the technology space, things evolve very quickly.
That's right.
So what was it like getting in the beginning, and when did you start to say, hey, you know what, there's going to be some changes?
Oh, it was great in the beginning. The foot traffic coming in the store, people were needing computers, and financing options were available, and they're more affordable, and it was great. And so that probably lasted for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then really once people started getting accustomed to computers, and they already had computers, a need for a consultant kind of went away. So now you can just go to Best Buy and just pick one up off the shelf and walk out the door.
The market's changing.
Totally changed.
Is it almost like, you hear like the washing machine theory where like washing machines are made in a way to break because otherwise you're not going to buy a new one.
That's
so
right.
Like, you go to your grandparents' house and they've got the same one from, 1973 still rolling.
They don't make them like they used to.
Yeah, exactly. They don't make them like they used to,
Right,
and, I've had to buy 3 washing machines since I moved to Texas 6 years ago.
I can relate. I know the feeling.
Yeah. Is that kind of like you build this computer and, obviously the technology evolves, but the need to come in and build another one is changing. You can just go to Best Buy, pick one up.
That's right. Because people were more educated. Right. They knew how much memory to have. They knew what peripherals they needed, software.
They need to pay somebody to tell me what kind of computer.
Right. Yeah. That's right. So the market starts changing. The company starts going through some restructuring, and then you had to start meeting quotas to justify your hourly pay for being there before commissions kicked in. So income started going down, traffic started, going down. And so
it's the company trying to
survive. They were trying to survive. And, and so, Dad at that point knew I was struggling. That's when he called me and he said, hey, I'm going to have somebody call you and, where you can come in and interview for Liberty National. And that man was Mark Woodruff, who is, at the time, he was a salesman, and now he's an agency owner of the company.
Yeah. But, you found, in a way, you kind of found this career with Gateway.
That's right.
That allowed you to earn more.
That's right.
To triple your income. And
that's right.
Lifestyle changed. And then I think a lot of people can relate to the fact that here you're kind of making your own way, and then the market shifts.
Right.
Life changes. Technology changes. And all of a sudden, the well's not there anymore.
That's right.
And okay, now what?
Yeah. and I think back to that time, I'm very glad that, God has provided these opportunities, and, but it also was, okay, here's some adversity, here's some challenges. Here I am running from it. Right. But when I got that call, from Liberty National, I'm not like, most people that would get a call, they have your resume out there, like insurance. I'm not too sure about that, right? I mean, for me, I ran to that one. That was,
you knew what it was.
Yeah, I knew from my grandfather and the prestige, that he had and how he retired. I knew from my dad and how he, was living. And when he was in the home office, he was living on a golf course in a country club in Montgomery, so I knew those things, and I saw my lifestyle change, and I wanted to keep pursuing that. By this time, Kelly had convinced me to start dating her.
Okay.
Yeah. She professed her love to me, and
a little reversol,
I reverse psychology on that one. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a unique story for another day. But no, we were dating in a long-term relationship, and so I knew one day I'd be marrying her, and I wanted for that future family, I wanted that same lifestyle.
So the rebellion has kind of come out. You're ready. You cut your hair.
Yeah, I don't have a mullet anymore.
Yeah, you got the haircut.
Yeah.
4-door car now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
actually, it was a 2-door Honda Accord at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hunter green with tan interior. Tan cloth, not leather.
Yeah. That's a good stuff.
I hadn't upgraded all the way to leather.
Yeah. That's a reliable vehicle.
Yeah.
Though, right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you go and you meet with Mark Woodruff.
That's right.
And this is the opportunity. Let's get going, right? And then, I mean, it probably was just like, oh, you're Clint McLain. Your grandpa worked just down the road. Your dad's in the home office. Here's a whole bunch of business, and you're going to be an agency owner in the next year. Yeah. And it was just up and to the right for the rest of your life, right?
A lot of people assume that.
Yeah.
And but no, that's not the story. I think if you talk to others like JD, you get the same story.
Yeah.
No, that's not. It's not where, okay, your grandfather built an agency, then handed it to your dad, and then he handed it to you. That's not really how this worked. And I met with Larry Ray, who was my grandfather's sales manager. He was now the district manager in Wetumpka. And so, the CLB was a little different at that time, right? It wasn't a PowerPoint presentation. It was a VHS cassette, a 20-minute video. And
TV that's strapped to the cart.
That's exactly what it was. It's exactly what it was. A day in the life of an agent. Yeah. And went through that. Of course, I'm ready. Like you don't have to sell me, right? I want to do this, and passed the personality test that we had to pass at that time.
You actually had to pass it.
Yeah, there wasn't like a bubble sheet and somebody didn't look at it. No, you had to pass this test. I mean, it was sent to the home office. You didn't know you were hired on until a couple of days later.
Wow.
And once I passed that, obviously you had to do a background check, all that kind of stuff. And that's when, Mark, he called and we reconnected and said, okay, congratulations. Let's meet up. And he took me to the ball field. Imagine that, baseball field. And there was a Saturday morning. I guess he was a T-ball coach. And so I met him there about 8 o'clock that morning. And he just shared with me some things. He said, Clint, I just want you to know I've already talked to your dad about this. And I told him your success is going to be on your own. It's not going to be because of anything that I do. It's going to be what you do. And he said, I told your dad your failure is going to be on your own. He said, Clint, there's a lot of pressure on me, with your dad being the SVP. And I made sure he understood that your success or failure is going to be yours.
Yeah.
And
you think that was fair at the time? How do you feel?
I was just kind of nodding my head along. I'm just with it. Yeah, I'm kind of rolling with it.
But do you think later on, obviously, that was probably key to your success?
It's the talk that we have now.
Yeah.
That was his talk for me then, and it was really critical.
Yeah.
So I believe in the talk. I think it's a really important step. And so, he shared with me about, we do have some customers, because at that time you got assigned to an agency with customers and all that. So we have some available, but you really need to bring your own network to the table.
And everyone that works for Liberty now.
That's right.
Sounds like.
Yeah. So at this point, my grandfather had passed away, but I had my grandfather's heritage. I had my dad, my uncle Worked for Liberty National for 10 years. He was still in the insurance business, but more in the P&C space at that point in time. So I didn't really have a network, right? Had to get creative.
So what'd you do?
Very thankful for this. My first referral actually came from, again, at the time she's my girlfriend, now my wife, but it was her brother and his wife. They gave me their wedding list. And so in my first referral collection, I got 250 referrals. So that was pretty cool.
That's okay. Just, hey, congratulations on attending this wedding. You've won the opportunity to meet with me.
Yeah, that would have been a better approach than what I did.
Analysis.
Mine was a lot less exciting than that. Mine was
new, right?
Yeah, mine was more, hey, I don't know you and you don't know me, but we both know Chad.
Can
we meet? And so, but yeah, that's how I got started was, calling through that list. And, so I'm calling through referrals and booking appointments and calling existing customers and booking appointments. And, Mark is running with me. We had a great training.
Yeah.
Mark was a great trainer.
Good. So is it success in the beginning? Is there a moment where things get tough? Are you embracing what you're being told, or what are these early years kind of look like for you?
So the training, the onboarding was ultra successful. I mean, I think in the first 3 or 4 weeks we wrote $15,000, $20,000. I mean, it was a great introduction to this business.
Yeah.
And then there's and I think this goes in any sales, any entrepreneurial endeavor that you do. There's that fall off, right, that kind of happens, and once you get away from your training, you kind of start.
What do you think causes that? Why did you get away from it?
I call it the training you. People kind of go into you, and you have to kind of, if you can shallow that out for someone, it can really help, stabilize that person.
But why do you go into the you? Is it because you think that I've done this for a while, I'm smarter now?
I do. I know I've used this word a few times, entitlement. I think there was some entitlement, some false sense of my ability. I'd already been in sales for a few years. Like, I think I can do this better this way. And so, just kind of drifted from the systems, right? I drifted from what Mark showed me worked, and I started trying to do things Clint's way.
Yeah.
And I started trying to, chase sales, instead of that activity and things like that. And
got away from the clothespins.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. I should have had that. And so, for a few months of me doing that, the income just kept going down and down, and I hit some really low spots in that time.
And was there a moment where you've kind of like, all right, maybe you're on rock bottom. I don't know if this is going to work out. There's got to be some pressure too that
with who your dad is.
With who your dad is.
Yeah.
That conversation that Mark had with you at the ball field,
right?
Your grandpa's legacy, and
that's right.
It's not working out. So, what was that low point like?
So, there's a couple of things that happened, and I wasn't really able to go to Dad and say, "Hey, I'm struggling," or because who he was, and so trying to figure things out on my own. I was getting calls from debt collectors, and I don't really talk about that a whole lot publicly, but here we go. And so,
it's not a great thing to experience, but it's part of what makes you who you are.
That's right.
And, there's a lot of people that can relate to that moment.
That's right. I still was living the lifestyle that I wanted to live, but not doing the work to earn it and be worthy of that lifestyle, right?
Are you married at this point? Not yet. Working towards that.
So it's just me, and she's finishing her degree, and so we were kind of waiting on that. But I'll never forget. I got a call from Honda Finance of America, and Mr. McLain, we need to facilitate making a payment. And I shared with them, I don't have that money. I don't remember how much money it was. I don't remember how many months behind I was. I said, I don't have it. And they said, okay, we need to make arrangements for us to come pick up our car. And that's when panic kind of hit.
Our car. Not your car.
That's right. And
How'd that feel?
Oh, that was terrible. I paid all this money into it at this point. I'm just late now. I got to have my car to work. There was a lot of panic that set in at that point. That was rock bottom.
Yeah. So what'd you do?
I did something that, I don't know, looking back at it, I just kind of like made a decision. Okay, let's just do this. So when my grandfather passed away, my grandmother gave me his shotgun.
Okay.
And it's a Belgium-made antique shotgun. Just, it's a really nice gun. And she also gave me his hunting coveralls because I think we were about the same size. And she gave me his hunting fedora. And I have a picture of me and him. He's wearing his hunting fedora, and we had just killed a turkey. And so these are like really prized possessions.
Yeah.
Of mine.
And this is your memory as well.
This is my memories.
Yeah.
And so, but I knew the gun had value.
Yeah.
And so I swapped it for money.
Pawned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you used that to keep the car?
Yeah, I kind of took that opportunity to pay up the bills. And, I made a commitment, right there. Okay, I've got to figure out a way to get that back, right? And so simultaneously, I don't know, obviously I would confide in my mom. I wouldn't confide in my dad. And I don't know if mom told dad and then dad called Mark. I don't know if that happened or if God was just kind of working things out. But like almost simultaneously, Mark has an accountability meeting with me. Mm. And well,
the signs were probably there. Whether
has to be. I mean, poor performance was there.
Yeah, and you're living a life of quiet desperation, but people can read it on your face. And
that's right.
Know, and
that's right.
Mark knows your income.
You're right.
As well. So
yeah. So I think that's one thing that's important. I mean, the talk establishes accountability, but you still have to have those follow up accountability conversations, right?
Yeah.
And I thank God for Mark doing that. He sat me and there was one other agent. He sat me and another agent down, and he said, "Listen, guys, this is poor performance. This is unacceptable. Can't stand for this. We got to make some changes. I need to know, do you want to do what it takes to make this work, or are you ready to resign today and call this what this is?" And
how'd you feel hearing that?
That's pretty tough. The other guy quit. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm done." No, he walked out.
Yeah.
And so, if you know Mark, he just kind of has that gaze. And so he just kind of turned into you and he said, "All right, Clint, what's it going to be?" And I told him, I don't have a choice. I have to make this work. I don't have any other options.
Mm. Yeah.
And so he put me on a project. He said, "Okay, well, talk is cheap. we got to go do. It's one thing to say this, but I'm not going to save you." Remember,
he didn't applaud when you said that to him.
No, he didn't. He told me, he said, I'm going to remind you that your success is going to be your success and your failure is going to be your failure. And he put me on a project, and that project really kind of changed the destiny of my career. So basically what he had me do was he had me go, at that time, everything's on paper. There's no laptops. I didn't even have a cell phone, right?
But you're like, I just sold computers. What are we, But even then, you're not lugging in the whole computer and plugging it in.
There was one computer in the office. That was like going back in time for me. And but we had these customer satisfaction forms that we would get signed. We did policy owner service. And he said, I want you to go do 25 surveys with homes. And at the door, I want you to ask a question. And then when you get their answer, have them sign this form. And you bring me back 25 of these forms.
These are existing policy owners, or this is just go knock on doors?
Just go knock on doors.
Find a neighborhood, knock it out.
Start, park and walk and knock. And the one question was, it's a very powerful question, right? If you were going to buy insurance today, what type of insurance would you purchase and who would you buy it on?
This is open the door and you say that.
Well,
you work your way to
introduction.
It.
Hey, I'm Clint McLain. I'm in the area doing a service. Just one question. Do you mind if I ask you?
Yeah.
And that was the question. And he kind of coached me up before I did that. This was Monday morning, and he coached me up and he said, you'll hear all kinds of responses. You'll hear, hey, I need auto insurance. Can you give me an auto quote? Of course, we're Liberty National, not Liberty Mutual. And you'd hear, hey, I need some health insurance. Obviously, that's not what we do as major medical. But every now and then you'll hear somebody say, well, I need insurance on my husband, or I'm about to get married, or we got children now. And
you probably heard a lot of nothing and go away.
That's
too,
right. That's right.
Yeah.
But I tell you, that Monday I went out, did 15 of those surveys that Monday. I got into, so this will be relative to people that go to homes.
How many doors do you have to knock on to get?
I don't remember. It was a bunch.
Yeah.
I certainly don't recommend this. But that day, I got into 9 presentations. And so, for those
they said life insurance for so-and-so and you
cancer policy. And I would just say, well, has anybody ever quoted you on that? That was my way in. Has anybody ever quoted you on that?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, do you mind if I give you, at that time, our one offer was the discount card. Do you mind if I give you a discount card and can just roll through that with you? And so I did that 9 times that Monday.
Wow.
And made 6 sales.
Wow.
Wrote a little over 4,000 AP.
It's a good day.
And pretty excited.
Kind of life change. I mean, that's okay. We're
like that. Yeah.
Heading back up.
Yeah.
Go back to the office.
Back up to you. Well, so that night, again, everything's on paper. That night I got home about 10 o'clock and took me about an hour and a half to get all my paper filled out. You have to cross every T, dot every I, fill out the bank stuff. I mean, it was a lot of work. But Mark had this system for activity where every morning you had to meet him in the office first thing in the morning, and he would meet with you in order of when you came in before you would go out for the day. And you had a manila folder with all your paperwork from the day before. Okay. So I get all this ready. And it's probably 11 o'clock now. I'm going to sleep. I'm the first one at the office the next morning.
Excited?
I'm excited, right? I mean, I have to be. And so I'm ready to tell him all the good news. And, 7:30, I'm in there, and he comes out of the meeting with Larry Ray, and he brings me into his cubicle and sits me down, and this is where I learned a lot. This is where a lot of learning occurred for me. And he took my folder, and I'm just excited, just telling him all the information. Can't wait to get it out. And he's like, okay, shut up, let's talk, And he opens it up, and there's a stack of apps, right? And he just puts them over to the side.
That's the $4,000 in premium.
Just slides it over
I'm not even looking at it.
Yeah, it's out of our view. And he takes, we did the needs analysis surveys on paper. He takes those, puts those over to the side. Our referrals were on cards, takes those, puts those over to the side. And he gets the customer satisfaction surveys. And he licks his thumb. He starts counting 1, 2, 3, gets to 15. And he stops and he says, I thought we had an agreement. You were going to do 25.
Wow.
And I said, well, but Mark, I intended to do 25. I didn't have time. I did 9 presentations yesterday. Made 6 sales. I mean, look at the apps. He said, that don't matter. I'm not even going to review those until you give me my 25 surveys.
How'd that make you feel then? And what?
I was upset. I mean, obviously in that moment, I was pretty upset. It was a great day. But I did go out and do 10 more surveys. I actually ended up doing 15 more that day. And didn't have as good a day, but I did make a couple sales. And, so my AP now in the week after Tuesday is 5,000 or whatever. And, I come back in. And in that moment, what I learned is that activity, I mean, it's really, really critical. It's, some will, some won't. So what next? You got to keep going, right?
Yeah.
I think over the years, I've thought about that story often. And, another thing I really learned is about follow through. Like when you commit to doing something, do it. So like in that moment, my first goal was I'm committing to buying my grandfather's shotgun back. I'm committing to making this career work. Do it. So that commitment, that was the decision that was made. Like I made a decision, and that really is kind of like that turned my career on an about face, right?
Because you're the same person.
Same
right?
person.
Nothing's changed besides your mindset.
That my mindset changed. And so all along in my, I guess teens and early adult life, I ran from adversity. I ran from challenges. I ran from hard. I didn't like being taken for granted at the movie theater. I didn't.
Felt entitled.
All these things. And then all of a sudden I started running towards this opportunity. And the rest was history.
There you go, right? And it's almost like learning that the process is bigger than the result that you're trying to get.
That's right.
Right? You got to dive into it.
And I am proud to say that I did buy my grandfather's shotgun back. So I have that.
All right. That's great.
Yeah. That's probably my most prized possession.
I bet.
And then, Kelly and I, we started a family, and there came a point in time where she wanted a van. And so we went and bought a Honda Odyssey one time. She's down in the Yukon Denali, but she wanted a van at one point in time for convenience. And it was really nice because of those processes, because of just following a system. I just wrote a check for that. I didn't have to finance that one.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
no phone calls on that
No
one.
phone calls on that one. This was mine.
Yeah.
It's not yours.
It's not our car.
That's mine.
It's my car.
That's right.
That's awesome. Well, and I almost feel like that in a way that your grandfather's shotgun represents so many different things, his journey and how he was able to create his life, which then springboards into your dad and then to your opportunity. But then it also represents you running into something versus running away from it.
That's right. Yeah, and obviously, the career's taken off from that point forward. There's peaks and valleys along the way, but the trajectory is up, right?
Yeah.
So from there, I became, a mentor agent, which is like a supervising agent, sales manager, like an agency, I was promoted to branch manager December 2007.
Yeah. Yeah. I still have a copy of the magazine. I wish I could bring it on this screen right here.
So I don't have a mullet, but that's pretty rough.
It was, if it's Clint McLain as the rookie branch manager.
Yeah.
Doing well. Now an agency owner, then he was a branch manager. And, we're kind of winding down here, but I just wanted to talk kind of briefly because when you get to this stage in your career, you're at the pinnacle field position, right? You're the top. You're the branch manager. But the company structure was different, and the culture had maybe gotten a little sour. There were some challenging times in Liberty. Where I don't know, you guys here today, like there wasn't a room like this.
It's totally different. No.
And there wasn't that that leadership, entrepreneurial spirit and growth.
That's right.
So while you're going through that, what kept you to endure through some of those challenging times?
Sure. There was some leadership changes, and I really think there was, somebody that was brought in that kind of changed the old guard, so to speak, kind of bust things up. And, I am thankful to God that happened because it kind of set the stage for what came after. But I was recruited by, a very large insurance carrier that, they were recruiting me to be, because at this point I had learned worksite and, obviously from my dad and others, and they were recruiting me to run worksite in Alabama and company car, salary, things like that. But some things just stood out in my mind was I didn't want to be taken for granted anymore. And I always think about that decision. And that just kind of powered me through even those bad cultural times that we had to endure. And thank goodness that we made some changes in that that where we are now.
So what do you say to somebody that's going through that experience right now, whether it's in life or a different career here, where it's like, maybe their leader they don't feel that they are being valued, or the leadership is challenging and they're questioning, where do I go? What do you say?
I think it's, so many times we look for external motivations, and we really got to be more intrinsic. What's internal, what drives us, and, just kind of remember why we do what we do. Remember those decisions that you make and really kind of follow through on those, and not be worried so much about external, because, things kind of come and go, right? Like I said, there's peaks and valleys. The success isn't a straight line up. It's up and down. And so just always kind of remember it's not as, things aren't as good as they seem, and they're not as bad as they seem. Just take that approach of, it's what's inside that matters.
Yeah. And then how important would you say is just trying to focus controlling on what you can control?
That's right.
Sometimes we focus on things that we just can't control.
That's right.
And it just eats away at you. So
yeah, I agree with that. I can't remember what book it is, but the Control the Controllables, right? I think that's so important of what we do is just, whatever walk of life is you're in, you just focus on what you can do. And I heard this recently. Bruce Leali is my new director now. Yeah. And, he was talking to me the other day about, there's a difference between focus and awareness, right? So like you can be aware of things going on, but don't let that be your focus. Focus on what you can control and just kind of keep after it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, Clint, it's an amazing story. It's quite the journey. Appreciate you being here and sharing it with us.
Thank you.
And letting everybody hear it. So thanks so much for being here.
Yeah.
We're almost done. We got one last thing, as you know.
Yeah.
Our tradition on the Level Up Lifestyle
Can't wait to see it.
Oh, this is a good one.
Okay.
This is a good one. You get a bobblehead.
Yeah.
And so I'm so excited to present you with your official Level Up Lifestyle bobblehead. Here's Clint McLain.
That looks just like me, huh? Yeah.
All right. How about
Wow. I love that. Thank you.
that? Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. So, the bobblehead kind of representing your journey and everything that has made you who you are. If you were to go back in time, I think that moment, that rock bottom, the phone call about your car, deciding to pawn your grandpa's shotgun.
Yeah.
At that moment, if you could go back where you are today with everything that you know, what would you tell yourself at that time?
Sure. Obviously there are some regrets, like not finishing college and, things of that nature, that I have. And not that I need to go back to college now, right? I mean, what I'm doing, I've learned it from the
You're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good without it. Yeah.
I think what I would tell my younger self is make that decision sooner. I obviously that entitlement and running from things, just make that decision sooner. And that would be the encouragement I would give for anybody that, if you've made the decision to do what you're doing and you've taken that leap of faith, if you will, just remember that and make that decision sooner. That's what commitment is. It's a decision, and just follow through and ride the waves up the ladder.
Let's stick with it.
Stick with it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks so much, Clint.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has inspired you on your path to success. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. See you soon on the Level Up Lifestyle Podcast.